Hi everyone, and welcome to Art with Alayne on video. I'm really glad to be able to do this with you. I was looking forward to having our second class with our Sgraffito leaves and oil pastels, and it didn't get to happen. I'm glad that everyone is staying home and staying safe, and so am I. And so we will do it this way, and I think it'll work out really nicely. One of the things I would like to say right up front, this is a video, so please press pause when you need a little extra time on something, because I will be editing these videos to make them be a little shorter. And so it's not gonna happen in real time. If it seems like I'm going faster than usual, it's probably because I've cut some tape out, and so it will be faster than humanly possible. So press pause, feel free to press rewind, spend some extra time on your coloring and of the different projects, and just know that that's a normal thing to do with video, and feel free to do that. So for this lesson, we're going to be using a pencil, an eraser, and we're going to be using oil pastels. All right, so let's get started. The first thing is I have an 8x10 piece of paper that's taped to another piece of paper. I'm going to start drawing some leaf shapes. Now you can see the paper as we begin to draw. At the bottom middle, I'm going to draw a vertical line right at the bottom. Then I'm going to start at the top and come down to the right and down to the left. This is a leaf that's just entering the page. Now I have this space and this space. And I'm going to create maybe a slightly taller leaf on this side. Notice how I looked at my space and put that line basically in the middle. I'm going to draw a line down for my leaf shape, but I don't want to touch that one. So I'm going to stop there. See how I've left that gap between the two? In this project, I don't want my leaves overlapping. And down like that. So this leaf was shorter, this leaf was taller. Now when I draw this one, look at my space, basically get it in the middle, and come down on the two sides. Notice that my three leaves are not the same. That's important. In between here and here, I would have a line about there. And in between this line and this line, I would have a line about here. And I'm going to have this one be taller than that one. Now I'm going to think about where the center might be for this leaf. So I'll put one maybe here, and put one about there. We're going to continue this way all the way up. Before we go on, I'd like to point out some different things about the leaves that I'm drawing. I'm picking some basic leaf shapes. Feel free to be creative. If you would like to have more wiggly oak-shaped leaves, that's good. Or if you would like them to maybe, I don't know, all be the same, they could be the same. I like variety, you know this about me. And the important thing to keep in mind, two things actually, when we're drawing this. We want to have that space, kind of like a little valley or a road in between the leaves. We want that to be available later so that we can put a particular color there. And second thing is that we want the leaves to be a little large. We don't want teeny tiny leaves because it's hard to color with oil pastels if the spaces are very small. So we're going to use oil pastels, we need large spaces. So we've got our three leaves at the bottom, our four leaves on the second row, and now you guessed it, it's time for three leaves in the next row. So I'm going to find this in between space, draw a line there. There's this in between space. I'll make him littler so he can go about here. And then I've got this space here. Now I've got my row of three. Well, if this one's got to take up all that room, I'm going to start with him first. So he's going to be flat on the bottom and up, flat on the bottom. That was a close one. I almost touched there, but you saw how I avoided it. And up. A little coffee bean shaped leaf. And all right. Now you know what I noticed here? I would still like to have another leaf over there. So I am going to put another leaf over here because I think it will look more interesting that way. There. I'm just going to put some partial leaves up there so that they go off the top. I'll put one kind of settled in there. Maybe I'll do a short leaf there, and I'll have somebody going off the page here and somebody there. Okay, so this is a big leaf going off. This is a smaller leaf staying on. This is a large leaf going off. And now that we have our page full of leaves, see, we've got them arrayed, so it's like they're just laying side by side, filling the whole piece of paper. We're ready to begin coloring. The first color that I'm going to use is gray. I chose this because it's a neutral color. It goes with pretty much everything, and it's going to be the color for in between the leaf shapes. I also like that it matches my pencil color because I'm not going to erase the pencil in this picture. So I'm going to color right up to my pencil line, and if I get a little bit across the line, it's not going to be a problem. You can see the approach. There's a little bit of white spots, not a problem there. And I'm going to do that to fill the whole picture. All right, we finished coloring all the background with the gray. There's a few little white spots, but that's not a big deal. Don't worry about that. Now I'd like for you to choose any 8 colors that's not the gray color we use for the background. Also, if you didn't have gray for the background, just be sure to choose a color for your background that's enough different from the 8 colors that you'll be using for the leaves that they could stand out nicely. I don't recommend using black because these little schnoodlins that come off of these, if it's black, it can kind of get in places that you don't intend for it to, and it can be a disappointing outcome. So, not black, but any other color besides the ones that you're choosing for your leaves. This will be a super fun activity to teach to you in a group of people, and I regret that we are unable to do that now, but if possible, see if you can get the people in your house to join you in this activity because it could be pretty fun. Because the next part is going to be a little bit like playing a board game. There are some rules that help this to turn out more interesting and be more successful, and it feels a little bit like playing a board game. Rule number 1, choose 8 colors, and we're only going to use those. All right. Normally I don't have so many rules, but this will make it fun. Next, pick any of your colors. So orange is first, so I'm going to use it. And we're going to put orange in 4 places on our drawing. And we don't want orange right next to itself. These are the 4 places that I've chosen for orange. Notice how they're pretty far apart from each other. And now I'm going to keep this orange because it has another job to do later. So it's up there. And I'm going to move on to my next color. And again, I'm going to do 4 places with this color, but not next to itself. These are the 4 places I've chosen for my green. So it was okay to be next to the orange. Then it was okay to be on the other side of the leaf next to that. And then I just went there and there. And again, I'm going to save this because I'm going to need it later. I'm going to move on to purple. 4 places for purple. Also, notice I'm using pretty good pressure. There's still little white spaces, don't worry about that. And those are my 4 places for purple. When you're coloring, keep in mind you do not have to copy me on the colors that I use. Any 8 colors are going to work. And in the class that I was able to teach before we had to shelter in place, there was a huge variety because people were able to choose their own colors and they all turned out just lovely. Light green's turn. It's starting to fill up. Time for red. Here are the places that I've put the red. Notice I've kind of been getting at least on one side of some leaves up there. This one's on its own. I wouldn't want to wait till the very last color because then they'd have to be on there together. So probably with the next color, I'm going to hit that one with it. So the next color is blue. And here I go. There's the dark blue in there. Next is pink. That's with the pink in, and I only have one color left, the brown, that'll go in the last two spaces. When you get down to this point, you maybe had more leaves than me or less leaves than me. In this situation, I only have 2 places left to make brown. In the past, I've had 4, and sometimes I've had 5. If you get in a situation where you have 5, then you can start back over with the next color that would work in that space and just kind of use the same 8 colors. Don't introduce any new colors though, because you'll find out in the next step. All right, we have our first layer of color on all the white space of this paper. And it's now time for us to begin to put the second layer of color, only on our leaves. We're not going to do anything on the background just yet. Right now we're going to look at our different leaves and notice what colors are there. So this leaf has pink and orange on it. I'm going to choose a color that's not pink and not orange to put on this leaf. We don't have to worry about our rules from before. That's over. Now it's a new set of rules. So I need to pick a color that's not pink and not orange to go on there. So if I take away pink and orange, that will give me 5 other choices. You can use any of those that you want. I'm going to pick red. I think it's close to these, but darker, and it will look interesting, so I'm going to color it with red. I'm going to go across that middle line now, and the whole leaf is going to look red. I'm not going to be concerned that I can still see the line. That leaf is done. I can still use red again, though, so I don't have to get rid of that. Next, we'll look at a different leaf. So I've got the light green, dark green leaf. Can't use light green, can't use dark green, and don't worry if you choose a color that doesn't look pretty because it'll work out in the end. So I think probably the most unpretty color that I could choose would be orange because orange and green kind of makes a brown color. So I'm going to use orange on this. Okay, so for all the leaves now, I think you get it. Choose any color that's not the 2 colors on the leaf to color over the whole leaf. And don't worry if it doesn't look attractive because it's going to look great in the end. All right, here I go. Light green, dark blue. I'll try purple. Purple, orange. I'll use brown. Brown, green. I'll use pink. And we're going to keep going until all our leaves have a 3rd color on top of them. Here are all my leaves with the 3rd color going on top of the other 2 colors. Some of them, I can't even tell what my other 2 colors were originally. That's okay. I just wanted to make sure I had a 3rd color on top. That's because that's the layer that we'll get to scratch off to reveal the veins of the leaves that we will do next. So now that I've gotten all that color on there, I'm going to tap off the excess fragments. All right, for the next part of our lesson, I'm going to use Blick liquid watercolor in black and a cleaning sponge and a rubber glove. I don't know if you have these 2 things because they're pretty hard to come by these days. So you can do it without any of these 3 things, and we will talk about that too. First, any of the schnoodlins that didn't fall off when you tapped them on the newspaper, if you go gently in a circular motion, you'll cause those little schnoodlins to become in the shape of balls And that'll help them to be able to roll off better and not draw too much on your artwork. So now that I've made balls, I can tap them off onto my newspaper. I'm going to use one side with no ink and the other side with ink, so you can tell the difference and decide if it's worth it to you to buy a bottle of this, and I'll show you the alternative. So we have two choices here. So first off, I'm going to use the ink on the left side. So you can see it's kind of thick and it kind of lands there. And I'm going to use this sponge and my gloved hand to not get ink on me. That creates a patina. It fills in any white spaces where we didn't get color. And I think it should make it interesting to scratch. But again, I don't think it's vital. So that'll be the left side to kind of dry that off. So there's no excess fluid on the left-hand side. Now I want a fun alternative for the people who don't have the ink. So on the other side, let's try this. I know I warned you earlier that black could be dangerous. So just very gently, and not on the leaves, but on the gray in between spaces, I'm gonna color a little black on the gray to fill in the in-between spaces. That's with the black gently colored on top of the gray. I did not press hard. Now, I just now decided that maybe I'd like to rub that a little bit to make it smoother. So I will, and I'll take advantage of the fact I've got my art glove on. So you could do it with your finger, but I'm just gonna use this glove while I've got it. Kind of blend that black on top of that gray a little to make it a bit smoother. This is what it looks like after I've blended in that black to the gray. We have two different ways to do this type of picture. If you have the ink, you would do this over the whole picture. And if you don't have the ink, then it would look like this over the whole picture. And you know what? I like them both very much. So they're both favorites. Now you know you don't need the ink. We're gonna get started with the scratching. This is the super fun part. This is the part that we've been doing all this other part for so that we can get to this point, and it is great. Okay, so I have my bamboo skewer. We're actually not gonna use the sharp pointy side at the beginning. The other side works best. It has a broader edge and it will scratch off very nicely. When I'm scratching, I'm going to look at my leaves and think about the direction that the leaves will go. So this looks like the pointy end of this leaf, and this looks like the back end of this leaf. So I'm going to make the lines go in that direction. Notice how that comes right off. And you can keep like a little Kleenex to put that stuff on. And then on this side, I'm going to go on this angle. See how interesting that is? That looks really cool. All right, now I'm going to find a leaf going in the other direction. So this one's going in the other direction, and I find it's easier to scratch that way. So since I'm bigger than my page, I'm going to turn my whole page in the other direction, and now I can scratch in that direction too. All right, so now we have two leaves going in two directions with the veins scratched out. Look how bright that looks. That's the underneath color shining through with the over top color on top. So now I'm just gonna have fun scratching all of them, and I hope you have fun scratching all of them too. And so this one, I might go, if I pull it, look how fast I can do. It's not a race. We all have plenty of time right now. I'm not going to scratch anything else. I'm not going to scratch an outline. I'm not going to scratch the center line. I'm just going to scratch these veins and it's going to look really cool. These are my leaves all scratched off. You can see they look just as good on the inked side as they do on the other side. And those bright colors are shining through. Now we're going to talk about what to do for the background. This is when the pointy side comes in. And so I'm going to hold it kind of like holding a pencil and use the tip very gently to kind of scratch a random squiggle, like I'm writing cursive letter L's repeatedly in the background. I'm going to be really careful not to get on my leaves, and it will create an interesting looking background that's not too flat, kind of like the cover of an old school composition notebook. Now let's try it on this side too. Look, it works just as nicely on that black part as it did on the inked part. So now we know that you don't need ink for this project, and who knows, you might even like the one side better. So I'm going to continue scratching now, and then I'll let you see the finished project. The background looks great, the leaves look great. When you're sure you're all finished scratching, then we can take the tape off. I'd like to give a little lesson on how to take this tape off. This is drafting tape, so it's a little bit less sticky than regular tape, but if you follow these directions, it'll probably work with regular masking tape, or really what's best is that blue painter's tape if you don't have drafting tape. All right, so I'm gonna pick it loose at the corners. I'm gonna pull the tape straight away from the center of the art. So here's the art, I'm pulling the tape that way. Notice it makes a capital letter L shape. This is a right angle here, and so the tape, when it bends, makes a 45-degree angle. If you pull exactly as a right angle the whole way, you can go fast and it won't be a problem and it won't tear your artwork. So here we go. All right, if you pull up, it'll tear your artwork. So I'm not talking about this kind of 90-degree angle. If you pull in, it'll tear. If you pull at an obtuse angle, it'll tear. And if you pull at an acute angle, it will tear. You maybe will get away with it for a few seconds and then it's gonna tear. So definitely pull at a right angle away from the art like this, and you will have the best chance for success. And even when I'm in a classroom of 4-year-olds, I can go super fast and not be afraid that I'm gonna tear that artwork. And ta-da! All finished. So I had a lot of fun making this project with you today. This was the same project that I was able to teach in the library and to about half of you. And I wanted to be able to teach the same project. So this one took a little longer. I look forward to be able to teach more projects this way until we can get back together in person. And when you finish a project like this, hang on to it, take a picture of it, get ready to share it, because I look forward to seeing every single one of the projects that you make when we're back together again, however that happens. All right, have a great day. I'll see you soon. Bye.